Question 1. From a practical standpoint, Emily, a wine steward at a fine dining restaurant, notices a musty, moldy odor as soon as a bottle of premium red Bordeaux is opened. She suspects corktaine. However, her colleague argues that oxidation is the likely issue because of the wine's age. Emily decides to conduct sensory analysis. The wine lacks fruit expression and the finish is short and stale. What is the most likely fault in this case? A. Brettanomyces contamination. B. Corktaint (TCA). C. Oxidation due to poor storage. D. Volatile acidity from bacterial spoilage. Answer. Correct answer. B. Corktaint (TCA). Explanation. Corktaint primarily caused by 246-trichloroanisole (ECA) presence with a musty, moldy aroma, often likened to damp cardboard. The suppression of fruit and muted palate confirms this. Oxidation, by contrast, adds nutty or sherry-like notes and darkens the wine. Brettanomyces causes barnyard or metallic aromas, while volatile acidity leads to vinegary smells. POIV sensory fault guidelines, AWSATA descriptors, TCA is clearly implicated here. Question 2. To illustrate this point, a guest asks sommelier Jason to recommend a semi-sweet white German wine made from a high-quality grape grown along steep slate vineyards. Jason recalls a wine labeled Spatales from the Mosel region. What does the Spatales designation primarily indicate in this context? A. The wine underwent extended skin contact before fermentation. B. The grapes were harvested late, leading to increased ripeness and potential sweetness. C. The wine was fortified with neutral grape spirit before fermentation completed. D. The wine is made exclusively from noble rot-affected grapes. Answer. Correct answer. B. The grapes were harvested late, leading to increased ripeness and potential sweetness. Explanation. Under the German Pradercat system, Spatales translates to late harvest. It denotes riper grapes, yielding wines that are either dry or off-dry with fuller body and aromatic intensity. It doesn't necessarily involve noble rot unless labeled. Beerenauslese. Fortification is used in port, not German wines. Skin contact limited for white wines in this style, governed by German wine law wing. Question 3. Taking into account best practices in wine service, Marta is preparing to serve a high-end vintage champagne to guests. The bottle has been stored at Tendick for 2 years. She is considering whether to decant it. What is the most appropriate course of action? A. Decant the champagne to allow aeration and remove sediment. B. Serve the champagne at room temperature to express tertiary notes. C. Chill the champagne to 6-8 and serve without decanting. D. Gently warm the bottle and serve in large Bordeaux-style glasses. Answer. Correct answer. C. Chill the champagne to 6-8 and serve without decanting. Explanation. Champagne is typically served well chilled 6-8 to preserve effervescence. Decanting may cause co-loss and is only done for older vintages showing significant sediment, room temperature and warming compromise freshness. According to Court of Master Sommeliers and CSW guidelines, correct service temperature ensures optimal presentation. Question 4. Throughout the course of a structured blind tasting, a student identifies a white wine as having high acidity, medium body, citrus and green apple notes, and a long mineral finish. There is no oak presence and the alcohol feels moderate. Which grape variety is the most likely candidate? A. Chardonnay from Napa Valley. B. Weitner from Conju. C. Riesling from Mosel. D. Sauvignon Blanc from Marlborough. Answer. Correct answer. C. Riesling from Mosel. Explanation. Mosel Riesling is known for high acidity, low to moderate alcohol, and citrus mineral profile. Unlike Marlborough, Sauvignon Blanc, which is more herbaceous, or Napa Chardonnay, usually oak-aged Riesling aligns with these descriptors. Weitner from Conju has more floral, oily richness, and higher alcohol. WSET Level 3 tasting standards reinforce these distinctions. Question 5. Given the circumstances, Diego, a viticulturist in Mendoza, is planning a new vineyard near the Andes foothills at 1,200 meters elevation. He is choosing a red variety that thrives in high altitudes, showing rich fruit and structure while maintaining acidity. Which grape variety best suits his goal? A. Syrah. B. Zinfandel. C. Tempranillo. D. Malbec. Answer. Correct answer. D. Malbec. Explanation. Malbec is Argentina's flagship grape, especially suited to Mendoza's high-altitude viticulture. The cooler nights at altitude preserve acidity and balance its deep color and tannin structure. Syrah and Tempranillo may work, but Malbec consistently dominates in Mendoza. Zinfandel is rarely grown here, supported by Imvregulations and ECWT viticulture reports. Question 6. Demonstrated by traditional production techniques, Brunello Montalcino must be aged for a specific minimum period before release. Which statement best reflects DOG rules regarding Brunello aging requirements? A. Minimum 2 years in bottle, total aging of 3 years. B. Minimum 1 year in oak and 1 year in bottle. C. Minimum 2 years in oak, total aging of 5 years for normal. D. No specific aging requirement as long as 100% Sangiovese is used. Answer. Correct answer. C. Minimum 2 years in oak, total aging of 5 years for normal. Explanation. Brunello Montalcino DOC rules mandate 5 years total aging, including 2 years in oak and at least 4 months in bottle. Reservoirs require 6 years total. It must be 100% Sangiovese Grosso. The Consorzio del Vino Brunello strictly enforces these standards. Labeling is legally tied to these minimums under it. Wine Law DLGS 61/2010. Question 7. In a modern context of winemaking, a producer in Oregon aims to retain freshness, floral aromatics, and primary fruit in her Pinot Gris. She avoids oak aging and seeks clarity and microbial stability without altering flavor. Which combination of techniques best suits her goal? A. Extended skin contact and aging in French oak barrels. B. Malolactic fermentation and sur lie aging with batonnage. C. Stainless steel fermentation, cold stabilization, and sterile filtration. D. Carbonic maceration followed by fining with egg whites. Answer. Correct answer. C. Stainless steel fermentation, cold stabilization, and sterile filtration. Explanation. These methods preserve freshness and aromatics. Stainless steel avoids oak influence. The cold stabilization prevents tartrate crystals. The sterile filtration ensures clarity and stability. Malolactic fermentation would reduce acidity and aromatics. Carbonic maceration is for reds. Or if winemaking hygiene standards support these practices. Question 8. While examining a guest pairing request, Sommelier Lucas is asked to recommend wine for an umami-rich mushroom risotto with parmesan. The guest prefers red wine, but dislikes overly tannic wines. Which wine would be the most harmonious choice? A. Barolo. B. Beaujolais Villages. C. Amarone della Valpolicella. D. Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon. Answer. Correct answer. B. Beaujolais Villages. Explanation. Beaujolais Villages made from Gamay offers low tannins, earthy notes, and light body. Perfect for umami dishes. High tannins in Barolo and Cabernet clash with umami, accentuating bitterness. The Amarone is too intense for the dish. Principles of taste interaction and ECWT guidance suggest low tannin reds for umami-rich foods. Question 9. From multiple perspectives, Oregon's Willamette Valley has earned strong reputation for particular grape variety due to its cool climate, volcanic soils, and Burgundian influence. Which grape is most associated with this region? A. Pinot Noir. B. Zinfandel. C. Sangiovese. D. Tempranillo. Answer. Correct answer. A. Pinot Noir. Explanation. Pinot Noir thrives in Oregon's Willamette Valley, where cool maritime climate and Jory soils mimic Burgundy. It expresses delicate cherry earth and spice. Zinfandel is unsuited to cool climates. Sangiovese and Tempranillo are rare. The Willamette Valley Uva is legally designated for this type of production, TTB over regulations. Question 10. In response to a guest inquiry about the taste differences in sherry, sommelier Andrea explains that Fino sherry is aged under a specific layer that protects it from oxidation and develops unique flavors. What is this layer called? A. Velo floor. B. Estuphagium. C. Cantero. D. Cafetas. Answer. Correct answer. A. Velo floor. Explanation. Floor is a film of yeast that forms during biological aging of dry sherry like Fino, protecting the wine from oxygen and imparting savory almond-like notes. Estuphagium and Cantero relate to Madeira, Capatazes, a seller master, defined in Consejo Regulador de Gerenciero regulations. Question 11. The underlying principle of appellation systems is to protect both producer authenticity and consumer expectations. Serra, a wine importer, labels a wine as a Chablis despite it being produced in Languedoc using Chardonnay. Which regulation or system would deem this labeling practice illegal? AUS. Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau TTB. B. International Organization of Vine and Wine OIV. C. Geographical Indications Framework PDOC. D. DOC requirements in Italy. Answer. Correct answer, C. Geographical Indications Framework PDOC. Explanation. Neither EUG system ensures strict regional origin protection. Chablis is a protected designation of origin (PDO), term specific to the Chablis region in Burgundy. Using the name outside that region violates EU Regulation No. 1308/2013. The TTB governs US. Others, while DOC applies only in Italy. The OIV issues global guidance, but not enforce. Question 12. From a historical standpoint, Matteo produces Prosecco using the Charmat method to capture bright fruit and floral aromatics in large stainless steel tanks under pressure. Which of the following best explains why Charmat is used over the traditional method for Prosecco? A. It allows for extended lees aging that enhances autolytic character. B. It simplifies riddling and disgorgement procedures. C. It preserves freshness and reduces production costs. D. It creates a higher level of carbonation per EU standards. Answer. Correct answer, C. It preserves freshness and reduces production costs. Explanation. The Charmat tank method, commonly used for Prosecco, retains primary fruit and is less costly than the traditional method. It skips riddling and offers short fermentation under pressure. The DOC guidelines for Prosecco as regulated by Consorzio Tutela reinforce Charmat use to suit the Glera Great profile. Question 13. While it is true that Ruby and Tawny ports differ in aging and style, Carla, a sommelier, explains to her guests that the aging method of Tawny port leads to nutty, caramelized aromas. Which of the following accurately describes the aging process for Tawny port? A. It is aged briefly in stainless steel to preserve fruitiness. B. It is aged in small oak barrels to promote oxidative development. C. It undergoes re-fermentation with grape spirit in concrete tanks. D. It is fortified post-fermentation and bottled within a year. Answer. Correct answer, B. It is aged in small oak barrels to promote oxidative development. Explanation. Tawny ports age in small oak barrels promoting oxidation, which leads to dried fruit, caramel, and nutty notes. This contrasts with Ruby port, which is fruit-driven and bottle-aged. Under IV Instituto dos Vinhos de Douro e Porto guidelines, Tawny port must meet specific barrel aging duration c. G 10, 20, 30 years. Question 14. In light of recent developments, a Spanish wine, labeled as Crianza from Rioja, indicates certain aging expectations. Tempranillo is the dominant grape. What does a Crianza signify under Spanish wine law? A. Minimum of 24 months total aging with at least 6 months in oak. B. No oak aging, but bottle aging for 12 months minimum. C. Aging only in stainless steel, followed by immediate bottling. D. At least 3 years in bottle before release, with oak being optional. Answer. Correct answer, A. Minimum of 24 months total aging with at least 6 months in oak. Explanation. Crianza wines in Rioja Doca require 24 months total aging with at least 6 months in oak, as outlined in Spanish RD 1363/2011. Tempranillo lends itself to aging with oak integration. The term ensures quality consistency across regions. Reserva and Gran Reserva require even longer aging. Question 15. By evaluating the interaction of taste components, Marcus is pairing a high-acid unoaked Sauvignon Blanc with a dish of goat cheese, arugula, and lemon vinaigrette. Why is this pairing especially effective? A. High acid in wine clashes with vinaigrette, but cheese compensates. B. The umami in cheese neutralizes the acidity in the wine. C. Acidity in wine matches the vinaigrette and refreshes the palate. D. Herbal bitterness in arugula mutes the wine's fruity character. Answer. Correct answer, C. Acidity in wine. matches the vinaigrette and refreshes the palate. Explanation: pairing acid with acid creates balance and synergy. Sauvignon Blanc's natural acidity mirrors the lemon vinaigrette, while goat cheese enhances creamy contrast. Arugula's herbal notes match the wine's green profile. CSW food pairing principles emphasize complementary acid levels to avoid clashing sensations. Question 16. Upon closer examination, winemaker Kevin in Barossa Valley aims to craft a full-bodied red with rich blackberry fruit, peppery notes, and high alcohol. Which grape is he most likely using? A. Pinot Noir, B. Syrah Shiraz, C. Cabernet Franc, D. Nebbiolo. Answer. Correct answer, B. Syrah Shiraz. Explanation: Shiraz is Australia's signature grape, particularly in Barossa Valley, producing bold wines with ripe black fruit, spice, and elevated alcohol. Pinot Noir and Nebbiolo struggle in Barossa's warm climate. Cabernet Franc lacks the body and flavour intensity expected. Wine Australia's key regulations classify Barossa as ideal for Shiraz. Question 17. With respect to bottle variation, Justin notices one bottle of red wine from a case smells strongly of burnt rubber and garlic while the rest are clean. What is the most probable cause of this flaw? A. Heat damage during shipping. B. Excess volatile acidity from overripe fruit. C. Reduction from lack of oxygen exposure during aging. D. Brettanomyces infection from unsanitized barrels. Answer. Correct answer, C. Reduction from lack of oxygen exposure during aging. Explanation: reduction leads to sulfur compounds e.g. HS, causing rubber, garlic, or rotten egg aromas. It's often due to anaerobic winemaking, sealed tanks or screw caps, unlike Brett, which creates barnyard notes or vinegar aroma. Reduction is oxygen correctable, supported by OIV guidelines on wine faults and Davis studies. Question 18. Across different scenarios, South Africa has become known for a signature grape variety closely tied to its identity and offering smoky tropical notes. Which variety is this? A. Mervada, B. Pinotage, C. Syrah, D. Touriga National. Answer. Correct answer, B. Pinotage. Explanation: Pinotage, a South African cross of Pinot Noir X in salt, is often smoky, earthy, and full-bodied with tropical fruit notes. It's unique to the system in South Africa. Syrah and Mervada are used, but Pinotage is symbolic of South African viticulture. SAWIS recognizes it as national varietal. Question 19. The evolution of champagne styles has led to a rise in grower producers crafting wines labeled rare instead of or centimeters. But what does rare, recult, and manipulant indicate? A. The producer grows and bottles their own grapes on site. B. The champagne is exclusively made from Pinot Blanc grapes. C. The wine is rose produced through Saigney only. D. The bottle was blended across multiple vintages and villages. Answer. Correct answer, A. The producer grows and bottles their own grapes on site. Explanation: Recoltant manipulant RM indicates that the producer grows equals 95% of the grapes used and vinifies on site, offering more terroir-driven champagne. It contrasts with negociants who buy grapes. These codes are defined by Comite Champagne and regulated under French civic labeling laws. Question 20. The common thread among Old World wine labels is regional emphasis. A bottle reads as Chateau Margaux 2015. Grand Cru class, Margaux Aoc. Which of the following can you determine solely from this label? A. The wine contains 100% Merlot and is aged in American oak. B. The wine is made in Burgundy and follows Premier Cru laws. C. The wine is from the Medoc, follows Aoc rules, and is classified growth. D. It is Grand Cru champagne made with Pinot Meunier only. Answer. Correct answer, C. The wine is from the Medoc, follows Aoc rules, and is classified growth. Explanation: Chateau Margaux is first growth in the 1855 Bordeaux classification, located in Margaux, Aoc, Medoc. A Grand Cru class denotes its ranking. There's no mention of varietals or oak. Burgundy and Champagne are irrelevant here. French Aoc labeling law emphasizes terroir, not varietal. Question 21. Examining the consequences of different aging techniques, Lewis, winemaker on Madeira Island, opts for process involving heating stainless steel tanks to 4.5 50 over several months, mimicking traditional aging methods. What is this heating method called? A. Batonnage. B. Solera. C. Estufigum. D. Velo floor. Answer. Correct answer C. Estufagum. Explanation. Estufigum is the heating method used in Madeira production to simulate oxidative aging in a tropical climate, as per IBAM Instituto do Vinho do Bordado e do Artesanato da Madeira. This process softens acidity and enhances caramelized flavors. Solar applies to sherry. Batonnage refers to lees stirring, and floor is relevant to biological aging in sherry. Question 22. Contrary to popular belief, not all Nebbiolo-based wines undergo identical aging. Lucia is comparing Barolo and Barbaresco wines made from the same grape but notices a difference in required aging periods under DOC laws. What is the minimum aging requirement for Barolo DOC? A. 2 years total aging with 1 in oak. B. 4 years total no oak required. C. 3 years total aging including 18 months in oak. D. 5 years total aging with 3 in bottle. Answer. Correct answer C. 3 years total aging including 18 months in oak. Explanation. Barolo DOC requires 3 years total aging with at least 18 months in oak according to Ministerial Decree of March 4, 2010 under Italian wine law. Barbaresco requires only 2 years total, making Barolo more age-worthy by regulation. This difference stems from climate and historical market positioning. Question 23. Looking at the Data Noir wines, a student compares 2 Sauvignon Blancs, one from Sancerre and another from Touraine. Both exhibit high acidity and citrus notes, but the Sancerre is more mineral-driven and refined. Which factor primarily accounts for this stylistic difference? A. Use of oak aging in Sancerre but not in Touraine. B. Higher permitted yields in Sancerre. C. Sancerre's chalky soils and lower yields. D. Touraine uses Sauvignon Gris instead of Sauvignon Blanc. Answer. Correct answer C. Sancerre's chalky soils and lower yields. Explanation. Sancerre is known for its Kimmeridge and limestone soils and stricter AOC yield limits contributing to finesse and minerality. Touraine permits high yields, often resulting in broader wines. Both use Sauvignon Blanc. According to ANAU regulations, terroir and yield restrictions significantly impact wine quality. Question 24. The effectiveness of wine pairing often relies on structural harmony. Alicia is selecting a wine for spicy Thai curry with coconut milk and lemongrass. She wants a white wine that balances heat while enhancing aromatics. Which of the following is the most suitable choice? A. Chablis. B. Dry Riesling. C. Gewürztraminer. D. Barbera. Answer. Correct answer C. Gewürztraminer. Explanation. Gewürztraminers' aromatic intensity, low acidity, and touch of sweetness pair well with spicy dishes. It softens chili heat and complements coconut milk. If Chablis is too acidic, Riesling may work better if off-dry, and Barbera's tannin and acidity with clear Ciderbiard lines on taste interactions support aromatic whites for spicy cuisine. Question 25. Historically speaking, Spanish producers created a sparkling wine using the traditional method with native grapes like Macabeo and Perolado. This wine is now protected under strict labeling laws. What is this sparkling wine called? A. Cremon. B. Prosecco. C. Sect. D. Cava. Answer. Correct answer D. Cava. Explanation. Cava is a Spanish sparkling wine made using the traditional method, mostly in Catalonia. Grapes include Macabeo, Zel Starlo, and Perolada. Governed by Ducova and Spanish wine law, RD 1363-2011, producers must follow specific aging guidelines. Cremant is French, Sect is German, and Prosecco uses the Charmat method. Question 26. To better understand the uniqueness of others, consider that the Russian River Valley in Sonoma experiences significant diurnal shifts due to maritime fog intrusion. Which grape variety particularly benefits from this cooling influence? A. Tempranillo. B. Pinot Noir. C. Zinfandel. D. Grenache. Answer. Correct answer B. Pinot Noir. Explanation. Pinot Noir, a cool climate grape, thrives in Russian River Valley over where fog moderates afternoon heat, preserving acidity and encouraging slow ripening. Zinfandel and Grenache prefer warmer sites. Other designations by the USTTB emphasize climatic and geological uniqueness affecting grape suitability. Question 27. The impact of grape variety on structure and texture is evident in Weignier-based wines. Sommelier Dan explains too, a class that Weignier is often confused with Chardonnay due to its body but is distinguishable by its aromatics, which descriptor is most typical of Weignier: A. Green apple and high acidity, B. Honeysuckle and apricot with oily texture, C. Grassy and herbal with crisp finish, D. Lemon zest and chalky minerality. Answer. Correct answer: B. Honeysuckle and apricot with oily texture. Explanation: Weignier is known for its floral notes: honeysuckle, stone fruit, apricot, and full body with lower acidity and a waxy or oily texture. Chardonnay is more neutral. Sauvignon Blanc is herbal. These distinctions are emphasized in WSET Level 3 CSW profiles. Question 20. Based on the information, a wine labeled Perligny Montrachet Premier Cru implies which of the following: A is red wine made from Pinot Noir, B is Grand Cru level Chardonnay, C it is white wine from specific Premier Cru vineyard, D it is non-classified wine from Languedoc. Answer. Correct answer: C it is a white wine from a specific Premier Cru vineyard. Explanation: Perligny Montrachet is a white Burgundy AOC in Côte Beaune, producing Chardonnay. Premier Cru denotes designated, high-quality vineyard site just below Grand Cru. Burgundy AOC hierarchy village Premier Cru Grand Cru is regulated by a now under AOC law. Red wine is not typical here. Question 29. The growing trend in direct-to-consumer (DTC) wine sales has influenced pricing and distribution, especially in the U.S. Julia is considering bypassing traditional wholesalers. Which U.S. legal factor most impacts her ability to ship wine across state lines? A. International trade tariffs. B. Tight house laws under the Federal Alcohol Administration Act. C. Three-tier distribution system and individual state shipping laws. D. WI market access regulations. Answer. Correct answer: C. Three-tier distribution system and individual state shipping laws. Explanation: the U.S. three-tier system, producer, distributor, retailer, is governed by the TTB and individual state laws. DTC shipping is often restricted across state lines due to tax licensing and volume caps. Tied house laws address advertising, not shipping. W regulations apply internationally. Question 30. The correlation between acidity and food pairing was tested in a blind tasting. Participants were given two wines with equal alcohol and body, but one had significantly higher acidity. How did this higher acidity likely affect perception? A. Increased perception of bitterness in the wine. B. Suppressed the perception of sweetness in food. C. Enhanced the freshness and cleansed the palate. D. Caused the wine to seem flabby and low in structure. Answer. Correct answer: C. Enhanced the freshness and cleansed the palate. Explanation: high acidity refreshes the palate, balances richness, and lifts food flavors. It doesn't enhance bitterness. In fact, it counters heaviness. According to CSW Sol sensory guidelines, acidity is key for pairing fatty or creamy foods, maintaining structure and perception of freshness in wine.